Right, so it's going to be the tutorial for my DHC4 Caribou. So first thing we're going to do is we'll go ahead in and open up the door and we'll set the brake. All right, parking brake is set. Next thing we want to do is we want to select a battery. We can select battery number 1 or 2. We'll select battery 1. Go ahead and we'll put on our lights for our light inspection. So put on all of their lights here. So most of your lights are there. And then you have your landing light, taxi light there. Let's go ahead out and we'll do a quick walk around and check that. So we have our landing light on. We have our wing inspection light on for icing. Turn that light on so you can see if you need to run the boots. Come out to the wingtip here. We should have our red navigation light and our strobe. That's on. Come out to the tail here. We have our white navigation light and we have our red beacon on top. Green navigation and strobe, inspection light, right wing landing light, and we have our taxi light on our nose wheel there. So that is checked. So we can go ahead inside and we can shut all that off. We'll leave the anti-collision light on. We'll shut off these other lights here. Go ahead and shut the door. All right, so coming in here, we'll look at the back panel here. Any lighting that we might need is going to be in here. So we have exit lights here, which will light up at all of our exit doors. We also have the no smoking sign. We had the chime for the no smoking sign. That is on. If it is dark and we need any sort of interior lighting, we have red lights and we have white lights in the cabin. Control the ramp here. So cargo door goes down. Cargo door goes up. And then we have the ramp door. So cargo door is the top. Ramp door is the bottom. And we can close those up like so. All right, over here we have our combustion heater. So it actually starts a motor to combust just like the real airplane. Real airplane would burn fuel to do it. So heater master comes on. Fuel valve comes on. Starter. And you set the temperature you want. It's in Fahrenheit, so that's 60 degrees F. All right, so now the heater's going. We're on. That will burn fuel like the real one does. I'm going to go through the starter procedure. Make sure we have one battery on. As you can see, we are using up the battery only on that side. The other one will stay 100%. Stick with one battery so we don't accidentally deplete the battery. Prime the engine in the event it's the first start of the day, which it is. Below that, we have hydraulic pressure. Engines are off, so hydraulics off. As you can see, parking brake light is now illuminated as we have the parking brake on. 3 green is telling us that all 3 landing gear are down and locked. Next thing we'll do is a gear horn test, so we'll listen for that. You can hear that going. So if the landing gear is up, the flaps are down, and we have the thrust back, we'll get a landing gear horn reminding us to put down the landing gear. Go through the center stack here. We have manifold pressure, RPM, engine temperature, fuel, port and starboard. We have oil pressures, number 1 and 2, and fuel pressures 1 and 2. Standard 6-pack instrument gauges. We have our voltage. As you can see, we're only discharging on the number 1 battery because that's the only one we have on. The other one is not discharging because it's off. We have gens 1 and 2. We're going to leave our anti-collision lights on for the start. We have wing and tail. We have standby compass. As you can see, we can turn that on for the compass. We have wing inspection lights. Again, we checked all that. Here's our pitot heat, our prop de-ice, our boots on our wing, and our boots on our tail. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the upper panel. Upper panel, we have our landing gear. We have our ignitions, which we'll need for starting. We have our 3 lights, so we have landing and taxi. We have our throttles. We can control the throttles with the up-down on the keyboard, or we can independently control them here and here. We have our props, which we can control on our keyboard with 1 and 2, which will do both sets of props. It's a constant speed propeller system, or we can also use 1 and 2 on the keyboard. Mixtures here. Mixtures will actually control the stoichiometry of the engine. If the mixtures are all the way back, it will shut off the fuel to the engines, and the engines will shut off. So we need to push those up before start. We have our flaps here and our flap indicator, and we have a carb heat here. So if we had icing conditions, we could turn on a carb heat. We will get a performance loss, and this is a light for the top. All right, so first thing we'll do is we want to raise both of our mixtures up. So we're going to push our mixtures full rich. So just hold them for a couple seconds. They'll go all the way up to the max. All right, and that's good. Next, we'll do ignition 1. All right, and then we'll go ahead, we'll prime 1, and we'll do the starter. All right, 1 is up and running. We'll go ahead and make sure the generator is on. That's in the up position there. All right, now we're going to start 2, so we can shut off the ignition for 1. Ignition on 2 comes on. All right, we'll prime 2, and we'll start 2. Watch the manifold pressure rise. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll turn on the generator. Both generators are on now. All right, so now that both engines are running, we can turn on battery 2 as a backup. All right, and we're ready to taxi out. So let's go ahead and set our flaps first. We'll set our flaps to the first notch for takeoff, and we'll release the parking brake. All right, so we use the up-down arrows for our thrust. The nose wheel steering is left-right, as is the rudder. It has integrated differential braking. So if you go all the way on the more you go essentially on the rudder, the more braking you'll get. So this will give us really tight braking because we're braking the inside wheel and we have no brakes on the outside wheel. So as you can see, we can get really nice tight turning like you would in real life. This also will simulate what it would be like if you were doing differential thrust in a twin to turn. So it gives you real nice turning capabilities there. All right, so we'll head back out towards the runway here. All right, so this plane was designed as a short takeoff and landing aircraft, so it accomplishes that well in game. Go ahead and we'll start our lights here. So let's go ahead. We want our landing and taxi lights are all on, and we can leave the rest of them off there. All we need is anti-collision and our taxi and takeoff lights. All right, so if you look at the H menu there, up, down is throttle, space is brake. So if I go ahead, we'll hold the brakes for takeoff here. And I'll just hold the space bar. As soon as we let go of it, we'll have no brakes. So let's go ahead and start revving up. And we'll release the brakes. As soon as we hit the bottom of the green arc, we can go ahead and climb. And we'll go ahead and raise the gear at positive rate. We'll go ahead and we'll raise the flaps up. Right there. All right, flaps are up. All right, just like in real life, you need to trim the airplane. All right, and the nose door will shut. All right, so just like in a standard airplane here, if we go to a standard rate turn and the turn slip indicator, it will take us 1 minute to do a 180-degree turn. So it's a 3 degree per second turn rate, just like it would be in the real airplane. So there's our turn rate. So realistic to the real airplane. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll make a turn back. Standard rate. All right, we'll get ready. We'll arrive on a base. So one thing you're going to want to do for cruise flight, just like in real life, you're not going to be cruising around with low-pitch props and high RPM. You're going to start bringing your props back. So as we do the 2 key, we start bringing our props back. That's going to increase the blade pitch in the props. That's going to decrease the RPM on the engine, both making our engines more efficient and much quieter. It's also going to keep us from overheating. In real life, if you run around at low blade pitch and full manifold pressure, you will overstress and overheat your engine, just like in real life. So you got to bring the prop back. That will start to load up the engine, cause the RPM to go down, and it will start to make the engines both more efficient, and it will prevent you from any sort of overheating. So you can watch that as we start to bring the prop back and increase the pitch with the constant speed system. As you can see, it will start to cool off our engines. All right, so now that we're in cruise, as you can see, we have a high blade pitch on the propellers. All right, that's making us very nice and efficient here. We're going to start turning back towards the airport, and we're going to get ready for landing. So just like landing in real life, you're going to want to go props full forward, mixture full forward. All right, so we're going to start pushing the our propellers full forward with the 1 key. That's going to start to decrease the blade pitch, which is going to decrease the load in the engines, which is going to allow our engines to spin up more quickly, which is what we want in a landing scenario. All right, coming back on an extended base here, so we're starting to push those props all the way forward. You see RPMs coming back up as we adjust the propellers. All right, so now we're at full prop all the way forward. So let's turn in on our final here. And we'll go ahead and we can drop our gear anywhere in the green band. So gear's coming down. And we'll wait for 3 green to demonstrate that the gear are all down and locked. As you can see, they're just locked into place. So we've got one, wait for the other ones to lock in. As you can see, we have 3 green. That means all gear are down and locked. All right, so now we're going to start to slow down to our flap speed. So I'm going to keep a little bit of speed in here until we get closer. But if you look on the airspeed indicator, the white arc is your flap arc. So you want to put your flaps in at no higher than that speed on the top of the white arc. All right, so on final here, we're going to go ahead and we'll make sure our lights are all back on. You shut those off in cruise. All right, so now we're going to leave the prop full forward, and we're going to control it with manifold pressure, just like in real life. So start to bring the manifold pressure back to slow down. As you can see, speed slows down. We're going to aim for the top of the white arc. All right, we're just going to dump in full flaps right now. Anytime you do pitch power configuration change, you are going to need to retrim. So also need to add a little power there. The flaps will add a lot of drag, just like in real life. So you need to add some power. And we can approach as slow as 60 knots here. So we'll come in a little bit over 60 knots, maybe like 65 to 70. All right, aiming at the 2 white aiming bars a little bit high, so we'll go ahead and I'll adjust. All right, we'll do our final checklist here. So mixture is full rich, props are full forward, landing gear is down in 3 green, flaps are set, lights are set before landing checklist complete, and we are clear to land. So we are high here, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll start getting down. So I'll trade some altitude here, so we'll pull off a little thrust, and we'll start losing some altitude. That's looking better here. That's probably about a 4-degree glide slope there. Let's try to get down on a 3. So we want to stay within the white band for the flaps. It doesn't really matter in game, but in real life, you don't want to damage your flaps. All right, so aiming at the 2 large white squares, those are our aiming bars. So final bit of trimming is done. A little bit of a float there, so we'll just pull a little power and drop the nose a little bit. Again, spacebar will be our brake. All right, picking the nose up, I need to add a little power, there we go. Just gentle taps. Aiming for the 2 white aiming bars, all right? All right, fly it all the way to the ground, all right? Little flare, and pull the power off, and we're on. All right, we'll just let it coast all the way in. We'll do a quick shutdown checklist. So as we're coming off the runway here, flaps are going full up. Now we're going to go ahead and shut off our landing and taxi lights there. Don't need them during the day. We can leave anti-collision lights on while we taxi for traffic avoidance. And we'll just taxi on it. All right, so there's no gyro on this. There's no autopilot on this. This is very much a hand-flown aircraft designed to be you fly. It's not a modern handholdy craft. All right, let's pull it in the hangar here, and we'll do a quick shutdown. So I'm just going to go ahead and press and hold the space bar for the brakes on the mains. Go ahead and we'll set the parking brake. All right, we're going to go up to the mixtures. I'm going to bring the mixtures both down all the way to 0, and the engines will stop. So this is shutting the fuel off to the engines and shutting them down. All right, there we go. We hear the engine shutting down. All right, so now the engine is shutting down. We can shut off the anti-collision lights. We can shut off generators 1 and 2. I'm going to come over here, and if we need to do anything like open the ramp, we can keep battery 1 off. If we are done, we can go ahead and we can shut both batteries off, and as you can see, it will power down. Left the exit lights on. We can shut those off. Exit lights are all off. And the heater can go off as well. So if you shut the heater master fuel valve off, that will shut the heater off. And we're good to go. So that is the DHC for Caribou. Any questions, you can go ahead and put the comments. Thanks.